What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Friday Night Chill. This is episode 10. Sorry for the late start tonight. We're gonna be doing a giveaway. Spoiler alert for later on in the show. And I forgot to make a promo graphic for it, so I was finishing it up before I hopped on here. So, my bad. So, anyway, let's get into tonight, man. I hope your guys' week has been good. Mine was pretty good. Got out of work early today, so that that's always nice. Tonight we are going to be ranking every season of Power Rangers, at least the TV show. I am just including like the TV show stuff. I'm not including like the comics or Hyperforce or kind of secondary content, just for the sake of ease. And also like things like Hyperforce, I haven't seen completely yet. I've like started it, but watching Hyperforce is a lot more work than just sitting down and watching a regular Power Rangers show. You can listen to it more passively, but I don't know, for me, it's like the audio format I kind of have to be in a mood for. So yeah, anyway, all that to say, it's not going to be, Hyperforce isn't going to be on this tier list. We are going to be doing a tier list because I feel like that was the easiest thing available to rank stuff like this. So yeah, man, I suppose, let me just make sure everything looks the way I want to. Yes, I believe it does. So let's get into it. For my audio only listeners, if you're listening to this on like Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio or Audible or any of those places, I am doing this in season order. So going from Mighty Morphin all the way to Dino Fury Season 2. That's where we're capping it. So that way, we're just going to go through each season, rank them, and we'll do it that way. That way, if you're just listening to the audio, you can keep track a little easier. So, yeah. So let's pull up the magic tier list that I'm sure you guys have never seen a YouTuber do before. But yeah, I wanted to make my own because I don't like using other people's stuff. I want to make my own thing. So I made each of these little thumbnails, I guess, if you will, with the logo and the Red Ranger. So just so we know what season we're talking about. So yeah, man, let's hold on. Let me. I had some notifications coming in my ear, and I needed to turn those off. So let's get into it. All right. So let's start with. Okay. Well, let's break down what tiers we have first. So we have S tier, which is the best of the best. A tier, which is great. I think. I don't know who decided S was better than A? That's what I need to know. These are the questions I have. Sorry. So we have A, which is like great. Then you have B, which is like, I guess, above average. C, which would be average. D would be below average. And F would be really bad. Let me preface this that I am one of those people that, and I'm not saying this to like brag, but I'm one of those people that can find just about anything positive in a Ranger season, no matter how bad it's been, because the show has definitely gotten bad at points. But I do try and take away something good from each season, because I think each season, even if the show's ideas aren't executed the best, it still does add a little something to the series as a whole. And I think that's partly because everything has been so interconnected for the past 30 years. So that definitely helps. I think for me, it helps makes me be a little bit more forgiving when things are just kind of weird, because like the world in Power Rangers is just so freaking big. So, you know, um, you can, if there's something weird that happens, you can kind of like explain it with something else later. And the show has done that a few times actually. So, with things like the Energems, the Energems. I was gonna say the Energems and the Dino Chargers, but those are the same fucking thing. But like the Energems, the Power Stars. That's the other thing I was thinking of, and the Dino Gems inadvertently. In Dino Fury. So generally, I do like all Ranger seasons to an extent. There are some that I definitely revisit more than others. So, hello to Don Ranger Power in the chat, and Ray. What's up, guys? We're getting ready to start the tier list. So, let's just get into it. Yeah, enough talking. Let's get into it. So we have Mighty Morphin Season 1. Now, Season 1, I don't know. Now, okay, so, like, this is hard because, like, Season 1 is the catalyst for everything after it, right? So, I think we're just going to go by my basic feelings overall of the season. And I would say my overall thoughts on MMPR Season 1 is probably like a B tier. And we'll probably rearrange some stuff as we go, just so we can, because maybe I'll, like, think of something when I'm not. Because I don't go back and rewatch Mighty Morphin Season 1 that often. I tried doing that, actually, before Once and Always. I tried rewatching the first 3 seasons, and that was really hard. Mostly because Season 1 is just so long. It's 60 episodes, and a lot of them are just copy-paste a lot of the same plots, which, was the point back then. And really not a whole lot happens unless Tommy is doing something. That's kind of the whole gist of Season 1. So, yeah, not a whole lot happens there. Now, Season 2 was the season before Once and Always I hadn't actually rewatched in full in a very, very, very long time. And I remember it being my least favorite season of MMPR, and I want to say that's still true. So I would probably put Season 2 in probably like C tier. C tier? C tier. Yeah. Because we get, we need Thunderzord power now and all that. But it was just really awkward because, like, they had a bunch of production stuff happen. So, like, half the cast changed. And then Tommy became the White Ranger. And they wanted to use Die Ranger footage. But they kept the Jew Ranger suits. So a lot of the fights are just the 5 MMPR Rangers and Tommy in the park reacting to the same, like, 3 shots of the monster that they were able to salvage from Die Ranger that didn't have any foot soldiers or any of the Rangers in it. So, yeah, it Season 2 was kind of rough. In comparison to, like, the other 2 seasons, I think Season 2 was a little bit more rough just because of the awkwardness. Hello, Toto. Welcome. Now, Season 3. Season 3 is when MMPR was the best. Do I want to put it in S tier, though? It's going in A or S. I just do not know which. Because I really like MMPR Season 3. That's when all of the cool stuff That's like when the universe, the larger universe of this franchise was established, was in this season, basically. And I love it. I love it for that. It's the shortest of the three, and it's just the most concise. I love it. I will put it. I will put it. I will put it in A for now. Yes. But yeah, the Ninja Zords were cool. Shogun Zords were cool. The Ninja Ranger forms were super cool. It just had season 3 had so much cool stuff. It gave Kimberly a really good send off. Can't really say the same about Aisha, unfortunately, but yeah, a lot of cool stuff happened in season 3. I really enjoy season 3. It's my favorite season of MMPR. A lot of cool stuff happened, and it's the most similar in scenario to what is going on with Cosmic Fury right now. And so that's kind of why, that is what's giving me excitement for Cosmic Fury, is the possibility of it being like season 3 of MMPR, but with more of a budget, because that was the biggest thing that always held Power Rangers back in the day, was budget to do stuff. And this time around they have a little bit more. They're still using a bit of Sentai footage, obviously, in Cosmic Fury, but if it's anything like season 3 was, I think we're in for some cool stuff, honestly. So I did count the Alien Rangers as a separate season on this tier list. I mostly did that so we would have 30 seasons, if I'm honest. That's why I did that. I think ordinarily I would rank that with season 3. I would consider the Alien Rangers part of season 3. They were just kind of like a transition into Zeo, basically. That's kind of how I see it. It was like the last arc of season 3. So, but for the sake of this tier list, we will judge it separately. And if I have to judge it, I would put it in C above season 2. It's mid, but a little bit better, because they had all the stuff going on with the Zeo Crystal and all that stuff. So, yeah. Toto said, season 3 confused me when it aired because I would have been about 5 or so, and I had no idea that the movie was a separate continuity. Watched that too many times. You know, I think the movie kind of fucked up people's appreciation of season 3. Because whenever anyone remembers MMPR and the ninja stuff, it's always the movie and never the show. Even though I think all the stuff with the ninja powers in season 3 was way better than how they handled it in the movie. So, yeah, that, I don't know. It's kind of like a blessing and a curse. Like, I'm happy so many people remember the original movie, but it's just like, yeah, but you know, they did ninja stuff in the show too, right? And it wasn't like, there wasn't Dulcia, there wasn't any of that. It wasn't Ivan Ooze, it wasn't any of that. It was a lot cooler than that. So, but anywho, moving on. We have Zeo next. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I cannot remember the last time I actually sat down and rewatched Zeo. It has been a hot minute. Now, Zeo has a great theme song. It has probably the best intro in terms of like the pilot pretty much ever. I don't think really anything has come close to that magnitude since, because I mean the show was just very different. It was a big step for the franchise, you know, actually taking the leap and changing the suits. So it was really that pilot really encapsulates that, you know, the series was beginning to evolve and going into the next generation and stuff, and that was really cool. So like a Zeo beginning, fantastic. The stuff with Trey and the Gold Ranger, super cool. The little mystery with that, super cool. Wish it could have been Billy somehow, but you know, obviously shit happened, and that didn't work out. But the thing about Zeo is it just, for having such a strong opening, it just ends. like very unceremoniously. Like it's kind of like, and it kind of just goes through the motions, if I'm honest, aside from a few hand-picked episodes here and there. You know, I feel like you kind of like have a general subplot involving Billy just kind of like moving on from Ranger stuff and like kind of like becoming into his own, and or coming into his own, you know, just kind of like as a young adult, figuring out that he's more valuable to the team, you know, outside of just the Ranger stuff. He, you know, is really smart with technology and all that stuff. There's a bunch of stuff with him helping the Equitians, and you know, a lot of cool stuff happening there. And then you start branching out more into the universe with Trey, and you know, introducing Triforia and all that stuff, and even incorporating the Alien Rangers into all that stuff, which I think is really cool. But you go through all of that, and those are just a handful of episodes here and there, and a lot of it just generally, from my recollection anyway, is just MMPR, but everyone's a little bit older, and the situations are a little bit more complex than they were before. That was kind of my impression. The Rangers weren't as squeaky clean as they were back in MMPR. That was kind of my impression. And then it just kind of ends with Jason not being able to maintain the gold power anymore, and then they just bring Trey back so they can do one final fight in Ranger form without the Megazord. I don't know. The way it ended, like, did not match the grand entrance it got. And that always really bugged me about Zeo. And, like, it didn't help that the next thing that happened after it aired was the Turbo movie. And, like, yeah. So, I mean, that the whole thing is just kind of weird. And anyway, all that to say, I think I'll put it in C for now. But I think I might be lower than that, if I'm honest. Because I love the pilot, but I don't know if that's enough to carry it for me. So we'll put it there. We'll put it above Season 2 for now. Season 2 is probably going to end up at the bottom of this list by the end of it. So anyway, moving on, we have Turbo. Okay, so Turbo is really half and half, and really when you're ranking, I feel like when you're ranking Turbo, you need to split it into two, because when Tommy and the others are still there, it is such a different show than when TJ and everyone else shows up. The first half is really hard to watch. It's very repetitive with the detonator plots. They were really grasping at straws. You could just kind of feel that they kind of exhausted everything that they wanted to do or that they could do with these characters. And it was really just kind of time for a refresh. Because once TJ and everyone else gets there, the show gets really good. At least I like it a lot. So, and then you get the best, one of the best finales with Chase into Space. A lot of cool stuff happening, but yeah. And then the Sentai being Car Ranger really didn't help. There are way more goofier things happening, weird Sentai mannerisms that just kind of carry over into the show that just kind of don't make a whole lot of sense. I don't want to rank it this low, but I'm going to put it in D tier. So we'll do that for now. Well, again, we can always move these things around. Now, next is Space. And Space is going to go in S tier. I don't think that's really a surprise to anyone. If you know me at all, you know that Space is one of my favorite seasons. It constantly goes back and forth between that and another one we will talk about later. But yeah, Space is just such a good conclusion for 6 years worth of world building. You know, it could have, I think it could have been way cooler if they were able to actually incorporate all of the previous Rangers that came before them. They really tried, production really tried doing what they could with, like, working in the Alien Rangers, Phantom Ranger, Blue Centaurian into, like, Countdown to Destruction. But, like, we had stuff like Adam popping back in, Justin coming in, and I feel like it would have been really impactful if some of those guys could have also came back for the finale. I feel like that would have been a really good way to just kind of end those 6 years, especially when you think at one point this was going to be the end of Power Rangers. Oh, there we go, said it. Let's get the Twitter threads going. But it is weird to think that this at one point this was going to be the end of it, which if it had, that certainly would have been a cool way to go out, and it put a nice bow on everything. And yeah, man, it's just cool. A lot of copied plots from Mega Ranger, more than I realized, because I've been watching Mega Ranger for the first time. I knew they copied plot points, that wasn't lost on me, but I did not realize just how many made their way into space. But what I appreciate about Space is that they did copy plots, but they did change enough of it to make it interesting, and they also really incorporated it to fit what they were doing with their main story, which I thought was really cool. Not all the time, but sometime. But yeah, I really like Space. Next up is Lost Galaxy. Now, I fucked with Lost Galaxy hard as a kid. I loved Lost Galaxy. Every little queer boy's gay awakening is when Leo rips his shirt off in the middle of the desert just to morph right after doing so. So yeah, I really liked Lost Galaxy. I rewatched that probably like a year or two ago, probably 2021. I rewatched it. It didn't hold up as much as I thought it would. But I think part of it is I have a lot of nostalgia for it, because I think Space and Lost Galaxy are kind of like my peak childhood memories of Power Rangers. I never dipped out of the franchise. I always was watching it. I haven't stepped away from it and then come back. Like maybe I did a little bit in my teen years, but it was very short lived. It was maybe months, and then I would come back and check in on it. But yeah, Lost Galaxy was peak childhood memories for me. So I really like it. But for the sake of this list, we're gonna put it. Do I like it more than season 3? I don't think I like it more than season 3, because there are. We're gonna put it in A tier. I don't like it more than season 3 though, because there are some weird just kind of little plot things and stuff, and also the whole Lost Galaxy arc really felt like that could have been part of more of the show. Because, I don't know, it just seemed like at the last minute they really decided... It seemed like at the last minute they wanted to do the Lost Galaxy arc with Captain Mutiny and all that, so that way they could burn through a bunch of extra Sentai footage that they had, so that way they could do a big grand finale, which was cool. But because they were in the Lost Galaxy for... I think it's 8 episodes they're in the Lost Galaxy. Trakina isn't in the Lost Galaxy the whole time. It's just Captain Mutiny they're fighting the whole time. So by the time they escape the Lost Galaxy, Trakina's been doing nothing for 8 episodes, and it's just the finale. And she's just had it, I guess. So it's just kind of awkward. They did a lot of cool stuff in this show, with Kendricks and Caron's redemption, a lot of cool stuff, continuity wise. But yeah, there were some weird things in there that just didn't age as well as I thought they would. Still really enjoyed it though. Still a fun time. Lightspeed Rescue. Now, everyone on Twitter knows that I always give Lightspeed Rescue shit. Now, despite that, okay, I want you all to understand that growing up, I had so much Lightspeed Rescue shit. Okay, had the Rescue Blaster, I had the Rescue Bird, I had the Rescue Megazord, the Super Train Megazord. The Super Train Megazord was like my playground clout as a kid. Like when I went to daycare, I brought like the Super Train in there like a couple times, and every kid in there lost their fucking mind because of how big it was. And then I had the rescue vehicles inside of it. Like, I was untouchable. You know, I was so popular. So I had those. I had the Max Solar Zord. I actually got the Max Solar Zord twice because I had an aunt that lived out of state get me it too. It was just one of those things where like they didn't really ask like my dad or anything if I had it. They were just like, "Oh, this is Power Rangers. William will like it," which is a fair assumption to make. So I had two Max Solar Zords. The only one I did not have or never got was the Omega Megazord, but that changed a few months ago when Reggie over on Twitter at RKOOOs. Reggie, I can't remember your Twitter handle, but anyway, Reggie over on Twitter, he's on the Bugs to Men podcast with Gary. He was getting rid of his, and I was able to get it. It was just missing the little staff or the rocket thing. I didn't really care that much about that, so I grabbed it. It was in great shape, and now it's with all of my Go-Go 5 Mini Pla. So now it's like the reverse has happened. So, because a lot of my childhood PR toys have just kind of been like lost to time or different storage units and things of that nature. So yeah, I don't know if the Lightspeed stuff is in a storage unit or not, but maybe it is, but I haven't seen it in at least a decade. So now I just have the mini Pla versions of everything except the Omega Megazord. So kind of like the opposite has happened as an adult. So it's weird how that works. What's up, Not Ultra? Welcome. We're on Lightspeed Rescue. And I was going on a tangent, basically just talking about how I had all the fucking toys for this thing. Last thing I'll mention. The last thing I'll mention for toys. Because honestly, I had so many toys from this fucking season, let me tell you. Part of the perks, in quote unquote, of being a child of divorce is that I think my parents just kind of like bought me toys. I think more so my dad, just to kind of like make it up to me, like kind of out of guilt. And also I was kind of like an only child until like I was like 9. So I kind of had that going for me. So I was kind of spoiled in that regard, if I'm honest. So I got a lot of toys. So I think it was one of the Battleizer figures. I got the bike one, but I got it for Chad, not Carter. So like the bike, the Trans Armor Cycle. Yeah, I got that for Chad, but not for Carter. And then I think like the last big thing is they had like this giant. They used to do giant mega packs of like all 6 Rangers that would come with like their signature weapons. It was fantastic. It was great. And I got one of all 6 Rangers. So, and they had like lights in the helmet or whatever. And I remember swapping their arms around because the arms, all they could do was just like go up and down. They didn't have like outward shoulder motion. So it was just kind of like a ball joint, and I would like pull them off and have them swap arms for some reason. You're not supposed to do that. That wasn't like a feature advertised. I was just a child playing with toys, I guess. But yeah, anyway, all that to say, I had a lot of fucking Lightspeed toys, okay? Let me tell you. So even though I talk shit about it constantly, I definitely liked the toys of it. Some of my favorites growing up. Like, the whole theme, super cool. Had a fun time. That being said, I would we'll put it in B above Mighty Morphin season 1. Okay? And I feel like that's kind of high. But I'm going to do it. Okay? Cool. So, but I actually did rewatch that recently too. There are a lot of cool stuff in there. Ryan is cool in concept. Like, they really tried that, but I don't know if it worked the best because he was there for a handful of episodes and then he's like, all right, guys, I gotta go run off into the desert in Southern California to find a way to seal the demons. I don't know. The whole thing with Ryan was kind of weird. It was kind of the same type of thing where, like, he disappears for, like, a lot of the show, so that way he could come back in the finale and be useful. So, anyway. Moving on. Let's go to Time Force. Okay. Now, Time Force. Here we go. Yeah, exactly. Ray's got it. Oh, Joel, you're such a hot dog. I love Joel. Joel's the best. Everyone goes on and on about Carter. And Joel is right there. He is the best character in that fucking show. One of the best Rangers ever. That's, like, not even up for debate. Anyway, moving on. We have Time Force. Okay. I think... Now, this might be controversial. I'm sure it will be. I don't think Time Force is that good. I really don't think so. I rewatched... This is probably one of the seasons I've rewatched most recently. And I gotta tell you guys, it's not that interesting. It is not very interesting. Not Ultra asks, just wondering, are you interested in seeing our tier list at the end or not? Sure. I mean, if you can find a way to send those to me, we can go over them real quick. I forgot to link the one I'm using. Let me tweet it. Can I tweet that while I'm working on it? I should be able to, right? Sorry, you're gonna watch me do this in real time. How do I do this? I should just be able to copy the link, yeah? Guys, being 30 is hard. I feel like technology doesn't come as easy to me as it used to. And that sucks ass. I don't want to open a new Twitter tab because I'm afraid there will be porn on the timeline. Hold on. Let me do it on my other screen. Here's... Okay, sorry. I'm, like, typing out loud. Okay. I just tweeted it, so we should be good now. Cool? Cool. So yeah, if you'd like to follow along, I just tweeted it, so... I did not post it. I tweeted it. Okay, bitch. Anyway, let's move along. So anyway, Time Force. Like I was saying, Okay, Colin is in here just trying to die on this hill. Okay, Time Force is a perfect season of television. Cancel every movie, burn every book. It is truly more perfect than God. No, absolutely not. It is not that good. Okay, here's my problem. Every character, there's so many more forgettable characters in Time Force than there are memorable ones. The show is about Wes, Jen, and Eric. Sometimes Rancic, but that's it. And Lucas, Katie, and Trip don't do fuck all. They get nothing. They get absolutely nothing to work with. They try giving them a couple episodes here and there, but the show focuses so hard on Wes, Jen, and Eric that half the team gets lost in the shuffle. and it's, what's the point? You know, like the Sins of the Future, the Boom comic that takes place, you know, after Time Force or whatever. They even make a joke about it where like they say Trip, Katie, and Lucas they don't know anything about them because they don't do anything. And like from what I understand of Time Ranger, the Time Ranger freaking counterparts got more to do. So I don't understand if they, because this is the time when they were basically starting to translate Sentai more verbatim. So I don't know why when they were, you know, translating Sentai scripts, why they just decided to not freaking do anything with Lucas, Katie, and Trip. Made no fucking sense. And then even still, even with not focusing on those three at all, the main characters still aren't very interesting, because people will go on and on about how Jen is great because she's the first female leader. Okay, cool. Yes, that was great for her to shatter that glass ceiling, right? And become, I mean, even though we had Delphine for, you know, years prior, but this was like the first full-time, you know, female leader on the team. I understand that. That's great. I love that. But my thing is, Jen's entire character is based on her relationships with the men in her life. She doesn't get to have her own personality outside of being a Time Force officer, being Alex's girlfriend or widow or whatever, and then like trying to have a thing with Wes. I don't know. It doesn't really work for me. It's not bad. Like, the show isn't like unwatchable or anything like that. It's just boring, I think. It's not very interesting. The Zords are okay. I had a lot of those too. I mean, to be fair, it was a pretty easy line to collect. I'm pretty sure. I think they had 3 Megazords. Yeah, they had 4 with the Transwarp Megazord. So they have 4 Megazords all season. It was a cool concept doing Megazord mode red and mode blue. That was really cool. A triple changer, basically, for Megazords. I would love a thing like that again. I don't think they will try it, though, because from my understanding, from at least what Twitter likes to say, Time Ranger was a big flop in terms of toy sales, so they probably will steer away from doing something like that anytime soon, even though it's been 23 years. But anyway, so it's Time Force isn't bad, it's just not interesting. I think when you go down the line of like that era of Power Rangers, I just think every other season besides it just outshines it. Even Lightspeed Rescue, and that's coming from me. So I am going to put Time Force. I'll put it above Z. Am I putting it above Alien Rangers in C tier? No, I like Alien Rangers more. So it's going above Zeo and above Season 2, but below Alien Rangers. Okay? It's just perfectly average. It's perfectly balanced. Cool. Now, Wild Force. Okay. Oh my god, we're 44 minutes in and I'm only on Wild Force. I think this is gonna be a long one tonight, guys. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get rambly here. So hope you're ready for a nice little longer stream, longer episode. Wild Force. I really like Wild Force. I think we'll put Wild Force up in B. We will put it above Lightspeed Rescue. Yeah. So we're going to put it at the top of B tier, above Lightspeed and Season 1 of MMPR. Zords were all super cool. Suits were great. We got a lot of cool characters in it. Okay. Another thing I want to go on. I have another little tangent. Okay. Taylor is a better version of Jen's character. Okay? Because Taylor is the leader of the team. She's the leader actually longer than Cole is, if you think about it. Because I believe she's the leader for 2 years. Because she's the first one who becomes a Wild Force Ranger, and she is for 2 years before they find Cole, which is always kind of weird to think about. Um, and I just felt like what they wanted to do with Jen was so much was executed so much better with Taylor. Yeah. Anyway, because I feel like at their core they're the same type of character, but Taylor didn't have any of the melodrama that Jen did with any of the men in her life. They had a cool little romance thing with Eric and the Time Force team up, which was super cool. Honestly, that worked, and honestly, when you thought about how the characters acted, it made a whole lot of sense that they would kind of like have a thing for each other, or kind of like the enemies to lovers kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of cool. Ray mentioned Kite ruined it for him. Kite is a fair diss on this season because Kite, I don't know. Kite seemed kind of stupid for being who he was. You know what I mean? It seemed like Kite shouldn't have been so easily manipulated. So I will agree that is kind of like a disappointing part of the season was Kite. A lot of cool stuff though. Just so many cool things. The music especially. I feel like they really gave Wild Force its own unique score. It had some sameness that the Saban Entertainment seasons had, like from Lost Galaxy to Time Force. But there was some kind of like poppiness in some of them, and some more like jungle themed type of melodies in there, or at least sounding, you know what I mean. I don't know, like the music fit the tone or fit the theme of the show a little bit more than previous seasons had. I thought that was really cool. They kind of got their most unique scoring out of that time on Power Rangers. Okay, so now that's the first Saban era done. So let's go into the Disney era. The Disney era, y'all. Ooh, good. This is like peak. Okay, so we got Ninja Storm, man. We got Ninja Storm. I think Ninja Storm, is it going in S tier? It's gonna go in S tier. Ninja Storm is gonna go below Space, but Ninja Storm is like a comfy blanket, man. I love rewatching Ninja Storm. It is the season of Power Rangers, I think, that is so easy for me to rewatch because I can just throw an episode on, and I will say the entire season overall doesn't have a lot of like through lines of like a overall plot. They have like the whole thing of like trying to get the captured ninja students back and all that, but it every episode is very, the entire series is very episodic, really. And so it just kind of really makes it easy to watch. And just the tone is just kind of cool. I was kind of like, I want to say I was like 12 when this show aired. So it was like, motocross and all that stuff. So like preteen type of stuff. And I don't know. It just felt like the perfect time and the perfect vibe for that time of my life. I don't know. It was just so cool. It's one of my favorites. I really love it. Cam is, after my most current rewatch of Ninja Storm, Cam is my favorite Power Ranger, period. Love Ninja Storm. We love her. She's great. Dino Thunder. Another banger, everyone, okay? Like, Disney, came out the gates swinging with their shows, okay? Because Dino Thunder is going back in S tier again. It's going to go above Ninja Storm, but it's going below Space. Dino Thunder is the I would venture to say it is the perfect tone for Power Rangers to have. It is perfect. It does enough meta humor. It does enough drama and comedy. It balances everything so well. It's just a great watch. like consistently. I'm not it just like Ninja Storm. I feel like I can go into it with any episode and just kind of get lost in it and just kind of enjoy it. It does have a few more like plots happening. There is more plot centric stuff happening, you know, with Trent and Anton Mercer and all that fun stuff. And the ending could have been a little bit better. I feel like it was kind of a cop out doing the whole Mezzo monster thing, but goddamn man, like this cast, these characters, what it did for Tommy's character, just kind of cementing him as this like overarching ranger mentor. Like there's just no season that has come since that has been quite like it, and it's honestly, it's just so peak. It's so good. It's so good because I feel like when you're trying to introduce someone who's never seen Power Rangers into Power Rangers, Dino Thunder is a great latching on point because I feel like it captures everything that makes Power Rangers what it is, like to a T. And it's not ashamed of being what it is. That's my thing. Because, you know, Aba Ranger had a lot of like wacky Sentai elements to it, and they incorporated those in different ways, you know, with like the whole Lost in Translation thing, you know, where they, you know, cut in the Ava Ranger episode, which is, you know, that was a cool thing. But the way they incorporated some of that like wacky humor into more serious settings, it worked. And when it didn't, they kind of weren't afraid to make fun of those things. So, you know, yeah, Dino Thunder is great. Dino Thunder is so good. I love it. 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 Dino Thunder is great. Now, SPD. Okay, great. Again, another banger. Another banger. I don't know if I like it as much. I think we're still going to put it in S tier, but we're going to put it at the bottom of S tier. Because I think overall for the show, when I rewatched SPD, I didn't like it as much as I thought I would have. I thought I was going to vibe with it more. I think like towards the tail end, it kind of like loses some stuff because like they wanted to do bigger things, but they just weren't able to because they didn't have the budget. So they kind of were like scraping stuff together so that way they could figure out, you know, ways to get a good ending. And I think the ending we got overall was okay. It was kind of weird, Jack leaving SPD. I don't think Jack should have left SPD. That was kind of just random and didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, it just seemed kind of random that he left SPD to go help out this rich chick or whatever she was. I can't remember. But yeah, it wasn't as great, but what I like about SPD was just the aesthetic. SPD has some of my favorite aesthetics of the entire series. Just with the way things were shot, they really experimented with shooting things in different ways with different lighting and just using scenery to like kind of set it back, to just kind of like set a tone for what they wanted to do. Yeah, the aesthetics of SPD are something I really, really like. And that's kind of why it ranks so high for me. And just kind of like the larger world implications of like Space Patrol Delta and all that stuff. It's just super cool. I really liked it. Yeah, Toto brings a good point. 2025 seems so far away back then. Oh, well. Yeah, I remember when the first promos for the show were starting to go on Jetix, and they didn't decide on what year they wanted to do at the time. So it was 2020, which, you know, is fun. It is weird to think about. Well, what's also weird to think about that, you know, with it, you know, taking place in the future, quote unquote, when it aired, is early 2000s fashion cycling back into fashion now, around that time. And I think that part is just like really funny. Like that's one thing I think is really funny. Like it was just far out enough where you could see the cycle of trends come back. Because I thought as a kid, like, growing up, especially when once DVDs started showing up around that time, I didn't think around 2025 that we'd be talking about like things like vinyl players or vinyl record players or VHS tapes. But the whole thing with physical media has become such a niche collector's market. They're still kind of around in a way. So like some of that stuff unintentionally translated and aged better than I thought it would, if I'm honest, with like some of the ways they use technology and stuff. So, and Toto has a good point too. The theme and the morphing theme, not Ultra mentioned the morphing theme. That is great. The music, the score in SPD, super great. Love it. Especially the little fight guitar riff thing that's very descriptive. I'm very good at describing things. There's a fight track that they use in the series. It's one of my favorites. Okay, moving on to Mystic Force. Mystic Force is definitely overhated. I remember I think, was Mystic Force on when I was on Twitter? I think it was right before I got on Twitter. I want to say Jungle Fury and RPM is around the time I got on Twitter. And so Mystic Force, what I remember a lot about that season from at least the online perspective, I think a lot of it came from Ranger Board. And at the time, Ranger Board really dug into this season. I didn't really care for it too much. But I don't know, man. I rewatched it. I thought it was fine. I think it was definitely not as strong as the seasons that came before it, if I'm honest, if I'm totally honest. And I think part of that is just kind of like the whole magic aesthetic. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't think fantasy themes are really my vibe. I'm kind of more of like a tech. Like I really dig more tech based seasons, so I think that's kind of why Ninja Storm, SPD, Space. I think that's why that stuff resonates with me a little bit more, just because I generally like those aesthetics for Rangers and just kind of Toku in general. But when I rewatched it, there were a lot of cool lore things in there, and I really think, and I think the comics have explored it a little bit, with the whole thing with Mystic Mother being Rita. A lot of cool stuff in there to explain all of the magic in this universe. I really felt like they could have delved in a little deeper on it. I just don't think they were able to because of just probably budgetary things. But a lot of cool stuff in there. A lot of great side characters. I will say that. Mystic Force probably doesn't have the strongest main cast of any Ranger season, if I'm honest. But the side characters really make the show for me. You have Phineas, you have Claire, Udon is a Ranger / side character. Fantastic side characters, I think, that really kind of just immerse you more into the world, and it just kind of gives you a different perspective to see the story happen. Because I feel like a lot of times you're just kind of like seeing the story play out through the Rangers' perspective, but I really feel like seasons like Mystic Force, with having as many side characters as they did, really gave you an opportunity to see what everything the Rangers do looks like from the perspective of different characters, which I thought was really cool. So, that being said, I would probably put Mystic Force in probably B tier. We'll put it above Lightspeed Rescue, but below Wild Force. Yeah, so that's what we'll do there. Okay, here we go. Operation Overdrive. The season everyone loves to hate and that I inadvertently love to defend. Uh, like, I am always, like, defending this season. I rewatched it in 2020, and I think it just gets way... I think the time it came out, it was probably the worst Power Rangers had ever been. At the time. I think the show has gotten significantly worse in certain areas since, and by comparison, Overdrive on rewatch has aged so much better. Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff happening in Overdrive. Multiple villain factions. That's super cool. That was a really unique element that, you know, Rangers really hadn't done before, and I don't think they've really done since. And that was such a unique element. It was kind of like the whole Rangers for Hire thing, so they didn't really have secret identities. That part was cool. You had a really cool through line with the Corona Aurora plot and the jewels. Pretty much every season mentions the crown at some point in it, which I think is really cool because I don't think any season since has really done that, where they are consistently remembering, okay, we have this many episodes and we're gonna treat every episode as if it matters. Even Once a Ranger, the anniversary special, moves the overall plot of the show forward by giving the Sentinel Knight, the sword body and all that stuff. So, and speaking of, it has Once a Ranger. I think still the best anniversary team up the show proper has ever done. I like it a little bit more, is because people might think I'm comparing it to Once and Always, but I feel like Once and Always is just kind of like in its own bubble because it's not like a regular anniversary special like we've had before. So I think in comparison to like anniversary team ups like we've had in the past, with like Dimensions in Danger, Forever Red, stuff like Grid Connection, I guess, even though that's not really an anniversary, it's just bad. So when you compare it with those, I would say Once a Ranger is one of my favorites. It brought back some of my favorite Rangers from just kind of my favorite era of Power Rangers, and just kind of gave them a cool 2 episodes. And yes, I like it, even though the Rangers quit. Because, you know what? The Rangers learned their lesson and realized they shouldn't have done that. And then they come back and help once they have their powers back. Anyway, so all that being said, it's still not great. Love the Zords. Love the aesthetic. It's a tech aesthetic, so, like, I really like it. But in terms of, like, the show, it's still a lot of cool stuff in it. It's just not one of my favorites overall. I just think it gets way more hate than it deserves. Still, I'm putting it in D tier above Turbo. See, guys, this is why I feel like this is why I'm kind of annoying with Rangers stuff. Because I just went on that whole ass tangent about how I don't really like Overdrive. Or how I don't mind Overdrive. And I still put it in D tier. With Time Force above it, of all things, which is weird. But I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, moving on. Jungle Fury. Okay. I have tried on multiple occasions to rewatch Jungle Fury, and I can't get into it. I don't know what it is. I love RJ. RJ is one of the best Rangers, I think. But that season overall, and it also has the Spirit Rangers, our first, full team of American Rangers. A lot of cool stuff in there, but I don't know. There's some really rough stuff in there. The ADR feels a little bit rough in this season. A lot of the Rangers dialogue when they're morphed is just them yelling, so that way they can hold their accent. And it's not great, if I'm honest. Casey has a lot of cringeworthy stuff going on with him. Um, Jared's kind of like villain motivations are pretty fucking dumb generally. And yeah, it kind of goes back to that whole thing of like it's more of like a mystical element. A lot of cool stuff in there with the Pai Shui and the Order of the Claw. Um, I don't know how it got by the casting directors for this show, but everyone in this show except for Theo and Master Mao are white in the Kung Fu season. And that's kind of just weird looking back on that, you know? Um, yeah, I don't know. I would have expected just like something a little bit more. Yeah, it was just kind of weird. So I don't really vibe with Jungle Fury too much. It has some stuff in there that I like with like RJ and like fun characters like Flit, but and even some of the music is good. I really like the music that plays when the Jungle Master modes debut. That was great. And then, but you also have to consider when Jungle Fury was airing, this was when the writer's strike happened, like years and years ago. The first one. Well, not the first one ever, but the last, one in recent history. So they kind of had to piece together some stuff at the end, because I think it was like the writers left, I think, in the middle of the Spirit Ranger arc, and they came back like right before the finale. So yeah, it was a little rough in there. So it's not one of my favorites, if I'm honest. We'll put Jungle Fury. Do I want to put it in F? That seems harsh. But honestly, I can't remember the last time I rewatched an episode. I think Jungle Fury is going to be our first F, guys. I did it. It's there. Oh, shit. It's there. Okay. Next up. Is going to be RPM. All right. RPM. Y'all know where this is going, right? Like, you have to know. If you've seen RPM, you know where it's going, right? It's going in S tier, baby. And the one I was mentioning earlier that like flip-flops with space all the time, yeah, it's RPM, man. Today, it's going on top. Okay? Today is going on top. It is going peak Power Rangers today. Man, this show, man. RPM, that was like the pinnacle. I think that's like the pinnacle of my fandom in Power Rangers. This came out 2009, so I would have been 16 or so. And I was already on Twitter. Colin, what do you... Oh, okay. You were saying it can go any higher than A. I'm like, dude, it's an S. Yeah, it is a shame it can't go any higher. But yeah, man, RPM was like peak fandom experience for me. Like, it was kind of like my first immersion into like getting behind the scenes details about a Ranger series before it aired. And just the circumstances surrounding this production were so different. It was supposed to be the end of the show again. But, because Disney was done with Power Rangers. They didn't want to do anything with it anymore. They were just trying to fulfill some contracts, some odds and ends they had left with, I think, Jetix Europe or something like that. And so we got just kind of an all-out creativity banger of a season. Um, I wish we could have seen Eddie Gazellion's full on vision for what he wanted RPM to be. So it is disappointing that he did get let go, or he quit, or whatever happened, and then Chip Lynn came in. I think what Chip did was fine, but it ended up just kind of being a rehash of Astronema and Andros again, which was a little disappointing. I feel like Eddie had something a little bit more unique in mind, and so it was a little bit disappointing. Colin asked which RPM demo was my favorite. I think generally I like the main theme the most out of all of the themes for RPM that exist. It's really interesting that one of the guys from Ninja Sex Party did the demo themes, and he's like a YouTuber now, and like he talks about making some of the music or getting asked to make demos for Power Rangers sometimes. That's super interesting. But probably my favorite out of the demo themes is probably that that kind of like pop punk one, or it's like, this is the last stand for humanity, Power Rangers. Yeah, Toto's got it. Yeah, that one. That one's my favorite of the RPM demos. But I think generally I like... People say they don't like the RPM theme song. I'm like, how the fuck do you not like the RPM theme song? It's so easy. It's Power Rangers RPM, getting gear, we stand together. Like, how do you hate that? It's so easy, and it's a banger. You're just headbanging for like 45 seconds. It's terrific. But yeah, man. Especially, I think I rewatched. I rewatched it earlier this year because they uploaded it onto YouTube, so I got to rewatch it. Oh man. God, it's so good. It's so good. It just gets what it does the same things Dino Thunder does. And maybe it could go back and forth on which one did it better. But I think RPM just like is just unapologetically Power Rangers. It does what it wants to do, regardless of how silly the Sentai footage is being. It just tells the story it wants to tell, and it does it with whatever it has. And I think that is like, it just encapsulates what I love so much about Power Rangers. It just does whatever it wants. It doesn't worry about what the Sentai is doing. It will use it. It will use it because, it's a resource that they have. But what the show does isn't dependent on the footage that they're using. Right? And Toto mentions, I appreciate how it goes darker, but the heroes are still heroes. So, like, yeah, it goes darker, and the thing that kind of bothers me is like the language that we use when we describe that whole tone type of thing, because people describe it as like more adult or whatever, and I don't think that's an accurate description, because when I rewatched this, and even back in the day, I didn't feel like it was this big, serious, super serious, adult show. I think what it did, and it's something I wish Power Rangers did more often, is just take itself seriously. And I think that's the key. I think that's what more people want to see when they talk about Power Rangers being more adult. I think what they're actually looking for, they're looking for the show to take itself seriously and just like move forward with having a dramatic plot and not have to worry about toning it down for an audience of children, and not like trying to talk down to them. They're just like, we want to tell this story, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna crack a few jokes here and there. We're gonna have some serious moments. We are gonna have some more dramatic elements because there is, that more all-encompassing feeling of, death surrounding everything because, it's the apocalypse. But I would say tonally it still fits in what Power Rangers generally is. But it takes itself seriously, so you don't mind it as much. That's just one person. That's just my opinion on it. So Mega Rockman 99 says, which is what I feel Cosmic Fury is about to give. I hope that's the case. Especially with how much Simon talks about it on Twitter or just social media in general. I'm hoping that's going to be the case for Cosmic Fury. Where they just buckle down, tell the story they want to tell in the 10 episodes that Cosmic Fury has, and they just go all out, man. They just focus on telling the story that they want in 10 episodes. They just are unapologetically Power Rangers. I think that's when Power Rangers is at its best, is when it doesn't apologize or try and make fun of itself too much for being what it is. That's when I feel like Power Rangers is at its best. RPM is like the perfect example of that. Oh my god. I need to... Is my coffee still over there? My coffee is still over there? I am parched. I have been talking for an hour straight. Give me like 5 seconds, okay? You're gonna see my backdrop. Okay, and we're back. I'm gonna edit that out of the audio version, but I'm not sponsored. They can sponsor me if they want, but no free promo. Coffee company that isn't gonna watch this because my channel only has 1,000 subscribers. Anyway, okay, that's much better. All right, so that is the end of the Disney era, and now we go into the Neo Saban / Hasbro era. Man, okay. Alright, so we have Samurai. Alright. Now, here's the thing with Samurai. Samurai is just basically Shinkenger, but with Americans, right? Like, we all know that. We have all accepted that. And this is the first season where I watched the Sentai before the season came out. Because Shinkenger was my first Sentai show that I watched when it came out in 2009. So that was an interesting experience because I got to see how we used Sentai footage for the first time. I started to see that a little bit in RPM because, this is when fan subs were kind of getting into my community spaces online. Yeah, it was different this time around. And it was very disappointing. Just because, RPM was just such a... It was the pinnacle of Power Rangers evolution over 17 years. And then to see Saban, rebuy the franchise and reboot it, but do like a hard reboot and just go back to old practices for the sake of being cheap, it was just so incredibly disappointing at the time. As a fan, it was really, really disappointing. I will say though, on rewatch, Samurai, more so Super Samurai, is better than I initially remember it being. It's just very disappointing when you consider what came right before it, and it was just just kind of kicking the balls. Really, after just kind of, just kind of, because when RPM was ending, it wasn't the end of Power Rangers conversation that happens today on Twitter. It wasn't. It was kind of a thing where everyone was sad Power Rangers was ending, for sure. But it didn't really matter because everyone really liked RPM generally, at least in the circles that I kept up with. And it was just such a great way to send off the franchise that we didn't really mind that it was ending. I'm hoping that's the case with Cosmic Fury, since we are getting ready to go on this break. But yeah, so like, even though RPM was like the end of Power Rangers at a point in time, it was a time where like it didn't really matter because like we were just so content with what we had that we were just kind of able to accept that. And then we hear about Power Rangers being bought by Haim Saban again, and it's like, oh shit, really? And then he's like, all right, we're gonna, do a hard relaunch of the entire brand. And to his credit, the relaunch of Samurai was successful. I want to say it got more eyes on the franchise than had been on it in a very long time. That I would say Samurai is Gen Z's MMPR, basically. Because, I mean, if you look on Twitter, a lot of the Ranger fans in their early 20s, Samurai was their first season of Power Rangers. And that makes sense because Samurai, despite everything surrounding it, being a copy paste of Shinkenger with, weird plot points altered, it was still a lot of people's first, and that's how a lot of people remember it. And, you got to give it credit for that. Haim Saban definitely did a good job with the marketing. That's one thing I will give that man props for. He got eyes on the brand for at least the first few years that he had the franchise back. We would see that dwindle. But yeah, anyway, but overall with Samurai, a lot of cool stuff in here. We get Lauren, our first, like, good female Red Ranger. So a lot of cool stuff happening in there. We get the Clash of the Red Rangers team-up movie, which, it was cool that it established RPM as part of the larger multiverse, which we already kind of assumed, obviously. But that would have been cooler if they were able to do more with, like, the entire cast of RPM. But, still. So anyway, we'll put Super Samurai higher than Samurai. We'll put it in, do I want to put it in D tier? I think we'll put Super Samurai in C tier, above season 2. And then we'll put Samurai proper in D tier, below Turbo. I think that's fair. Also, something I never understood why the fuck they did this. It made absolutely zero fucking sense. When they launched Samurai and they premiered it on Nickelodeon, they premiered it with episode 3, and we did not see the pilot episodes for almost an entire year. I think the pilot of Samurai aired at the end of the season as like a lost episode, and it's like, bitch, this is just the first episode. And I remember the excuses we heard that, like, oh, Nickelodeon wanted something with, like, like all the action and shit. And it's like, dude, in the first episode, they do everything. They morph, they have a fight as Rangers, and they have a Megazord fight. They do all the toy shit in the first episode. And then they do the Megazord in the second episode. Like, I don't get why they did that. That made absolutely no fucking sense. And I feel like if they started it with Origins, I think the series overall would have been received better. Because by the time the pilot aired, it's like, yeah, everyone was already invested in the fucking show, I don't know. Made absolutely no sense. It's also funny that, like, physical media releases and the YouTube versions of those episodes have Antonio in the credits because it aired out of order, and they never bothered editing a version of just the main 5 Rangers. It's just the first 2 episodes of the season have Antonio in the intro for no reason. Yeah. Anyway. Toto. Yes. Scott, your team says hi. Classic. That's a classic line, isn't it? All right. Moving on. I'm probably going to have to go grab my water bottle at some point in the fridge, because this coffee I don't think is going to last. All right. Now we are on Megaforce. Oh, man. Okay. Megaforce and Super Megaforce. Now, I don't think I hate Megaforce and Super Megaforce as much as everyone seems to. I understand where people are coming from. And like, even watching it at the time, I was definitely perplexed, bewildered at what exactly they were doing, because they didn't seem to know what they were doing. I think the prospect of an MMPR homage as the 20th anniversary was a great idea. And I think Megaforce would have been perfect to do for 2 years and just do that. But then Gokaiger came out in 2011, and Saban just felt this pressure from like everyone in the community that they had to use the Gokaiger suits for something for the 20th anniversary. They just had to use them. And it's like, you really didn't. You really didn't have to do that. You could have just done an MMPR homage with Megaforce and just the Goseiger footage, and I think that would have been a better celebration of 20 years, if I'm honest. Because you still could have done the Ranger War. You still could have done that, because the Goseigers are in that. The Gokaigers aren't in that footage. So you could have still had that all lead up to the Ranger War and just not done Gokaiger yet. You could have repurposed it. Because here's the other thing. Saban didn't even like the theme, the aesthetic, the pirates and all that shit. And that's like a lot of problems that with Saban and wanting to do something and not giving a shit about trying to incorporate thematic elements of the footage they're using. He just wanted them to like use the suits and not have the writers give a shit that they were pirate themed and explain why that was, you know? Because Megaforce on its own, I enjoy, honestly. I think it has a lot of cool stuff in there. Robo Knight, cool little side character and all that stuff. A lot of cool stuff in there. And if they really wanted to do the whole change into past Ranger shit for the 20th anniversary, right? And do like a Gokaiger type of adaptation, they could have done that. And what they could have done is the thing they were already doing with the card game, which is use Goseiger cards. Use cards to turn into the past Rangers. Like, you could just do that and then just cut to that footage if you really want to use Gokaiger footage so badly. They could have done the Gokai change stuff, but just with the cards, with the power cards. That would have been a way better way of incorporating what they wanted to do in the show. You know, the writers really tried their best. They really tried, but they were under so many stupid limitations from what they could do, and with just not having a clear direction. Like, they wanted to copy Sentai scripts, even if that didn't make sense for the characters in the show, because they were adapting 2 different Sentais, and each team had a different, you know, had different character dynamics, you know, so I don't know, man. They really tried. The writers tried. None of this was the writers' fault. It was the freaking producers and executives that got in the fucking way of the show, because they just couldn't decide on what they wanted, and so what they compromised on was something with a unclear direction that just was kind of a cop out, and it just wasn't that great by the end of it. So, so where are we gonna put? All that being said, where the fuck are we putting Megaforce on this list? I think we're gonna put Megaforce in D tier. We'll put it above Samurai. Super Megaforce, we'll go below Samurai. And the thing about Super Megaforce is there is a lot of cool lore opportunities there. I want to know where the fuck the Ranger keys came from. That's what I want to know. I want to know why Gosei had two separate, Ranger sets of powers that he decided to just kind of collide with each other. Because I have a few headcanons in there, I think somewhere out there, and this is just because of resources we have with Sentai and stuff, but I think because we have the Gosei green suit or whatever, I think somewhere out in space there's a green Megaforce Ranger, regular Megaforce Ranger, that has a black Ranger key that turns them into the Super Mega Black Ranger, and at some point Gosei got the keys mixed up. And that's kind of my headcanon for what happened with Jake. That's why he goes from Megaforce Black to Super Mega Green. There's an opposite of him somewhere out in space. Because I want to know where the fuck these powers came from. Is Gosei from Eltar? Because they never really explain where the fuck he came from. He just said he's of the Earth. And that Zordon is his mentor. So we don't know if him and Tenso are actually from Eltar or they're from somewhere else that we've never heard of before. So that is something Super Megaforce opened a lot of doors, especially with the introduction of the Pre-Ju teams, the Pre-Ju Ranger teams, into the universe. When it did that, it expanded the universe into larger things that we hadn't seen before, and the prospect of different alien rangers and all that stuff. So I like the Pre-Ju Ranger teams being incorporated into that way, and I think that was a good way of using them. If they were going to use the footage, which they did, that was a perfectly reasonable explanation. Was it utilized to the best of their ability? No. They could have done so much cooler shit with it, but they just didn't, because again, the freaking thing was directionless. And yeah, Toto mentions the Armada. They just fly around destroying planets. The Armada was a cool threat. I really enjoyed how they incorporated Rock into that. I wish we got to see more of a back and forth with Rock and Prince Vakar. I don't think the two of them are ever on screen together. We just hear about them being siblings in passing. So that would have been really cool to see, I think that would have been a really cool element of, the Armada and the War Star aliens and all that stuff, is to have that back and forth with Vrak and Prince Vakar. A lot of cool opportunities in there that they just kind of squandered, and we all know that that we've been down this road before. Moltor and Furious did it better. That is correct. Moltor and Furious did do it better, even though they were fighting over a sled. That was, yeah. The Bosco suit. They could have used the Bosco suit. They could have. That was a whole other thing that I think, Yeah, there were a whole lot of could-haves in Super Mega Force, and they just never did that. And it's unfortunate, but whatever. The past is the past. All we can do is hope for a better future. So hopefully there's a comic one day. I would love a one-shot, just kind of exploring the whole thing with the Megaforce powers. That's what I want. I want a one-shot about the Megaforce powers and where the fuck Gosei and Tenso came from. Because I think someone mentioned earlier that they have Orion's planet Andrasia, so maybe that's where they're from, and they just didn't mention it to Orion or something. I don't know. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Colin mentioned that Bosco's actor watched Super Mega Force and he was waiting for his counterpart to show up, and he never did. That sucks. Yeah, Toto mentioned Vrak and Vakar could get a good comic one shot. I would love that. I would love that. They've done a lot of cool one shots with villain backstories in the comics, and so I would love to see one for Prince Vakar and Vrak. Okay, now moving on, we are going to Dino Charge. That's when we had the writer shift. This was the first Ranger series with Becca Barnes and Owen Dale as head writers. I think Chip was the head writer, and Becca and Owen were assistant writers. I think they were interning or something. They had just gotten there. But I think Chip did a lot of the heavy lifting for the beginning of Dino Charge. This was also the first series Chip Lynn EP'd for after RPM, because, it was Jonathan Zacher before. Big tone shift, I would say. I think it did take itself a little bit more seriously. And I think it definitely was a step in the right direction. I think they got a little bit more focused during Dino Charge, and we start to kind of see Power Rangers get its footing again. So Dino Charge proper, you had the story of I don't think all of the Energems. I think it was just the main 8 or 9. Does Tyler's dad show up in this half of the show? He does, right? Yes. Yes? No. He shows up in the second half. He shows up in Supercharge. So yeah, Dino Charge was really fun. It also came out around the same time as, just barely after Kyoryuger, I think, because we skipped Go Busters at the time, which I was heartbroken about. Okay, Not Ultra says 8 Energems. Okay, that sounds about right. Yeah, because, yeah. So you had that going on with the Energems, the overall kind of story was shifting a little bit, and it was just a little bit more focused than it had been before this point. And I really enjoy the first half of I enjoy Dino Charge. I will say. I don't rewatch it as much just because of what happens in Supercharge. It just kind of turns me off to the whole thing. But I will say, if I ever have to pick between watch Dino Charge or watch Dino Supercharge, I'm going to pick Dino Charge every time. So I would put it... Dino Charge, I would put... I would probably put Dino Charge in C tier above Time Force, but below Alien Rangers. That's where I will put Dino Charge. So now Dino Supercharge, on the other hand, that is where we kind of started to see a popular trend begin to happen with this team of writers, or the writing team including these people. So the first half of these shows would start out super strong, have a really good 20 episode arc, kind of end on a mid-season type of thing where like the show could end here, but it also leaves it open-ended enough where they can just like pick up, on stuff and, do another thing. But then the second half happens and it's just not as good. It just is not as good. This one did not have... It had 2 Rangers to add in. It had Aqua and the Silver Ranger stuff happening. And I don't know, man. It just... The episodes in Dino Supercharged just do not hit as well as the ones in Dino Charged did. A lot more flops here. A lot more inconsistent focus. A lot of B plots being treated as A plots. I think, like things that shouldn't be really important in the episode, are treated more important than the plot heavy stuff. And I think this was the beginning of like executive intervention for the brand, because a lot of people behind the scenes were leaving. There was a lot of changing of the guard happening behind the scenes. I think Ellie Deacle, who was one of the main marketing people for the brand up until Dino Charge. I think Dino Charge is the year he left. That's kind of when we started to see some more weird executive decisions being made and kind of like sort of inconsistencies happening in the show. So, and then that all culminates to the end of Extinction, which for me is the worst Power Rangers finale ever, period. I hate watching it. When I first watched the end of Extinction, I was ready to be done with Power Rangers. This was like the closest I had ever been to quitting this show, quitting this franchise, being done supporting any of it, and just leaving. Because I was like, this is the dumbest fucking thing I have ever watched. And I cannot believe they wasted, like for me, it felt like I wasted 2 years of my time watching this show. I don't know. Like, I didn't appreciate the whole time travel thing. I didn't appreciate making the Rangers lose by having their Earth get sucked into a black hole, because even though they went back in time and created a new timeline, all those people on their original Earth still technically died because they got sucked into a black hole. So the Dino Charge Rangers lost, and not enough people talk about that, and it's really fucking dumb, and I hate that so much. I thought it was such a dumb move. I don't understand it. I will never understand it. People have tried justifying it to me. I do not get it. I hate it. It was a bad ending. It was a bad ending, and I hate it. Dino Supercharge is going at the top or at the bottom. Bottom would imply it's worse than Jungle Fury, right? Yeah. Dino Supercharge is going in F tier. All the way at the bottom is the worst. I never want to revisit it, really. Obviously, we're getting like the Dark Ranger and stuff. But yeah, yeah. I don't like Dino Supercharge at all. All right, now Ninja Steel. Okay, again, Ninja Steel started out really strong. A lot of people gave Ninja Steel a lot of shit, and I wonder if any of it... I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the 2017 movie was coming out at the same time. So I think people were just kind of like done with it, because they were just kind of ready for the reboot to happen. But I actually really enjoy Ninja Steel on its own. I remember enjoying it every week, except for Duramonte. Those are the only 2 characters I consistently didn't like throughout the whole show. But I would say Ninja Steel did the best of adapting a 40-episode Sentai into 22 pretty good episodes. And I think they were able to consolidate a lot of the Ninja, plot points, and really make a cool 22-episode series of Power Rangers. Yeah, I really enjoy Ninja Steel proper because it incorporated the other two Red Rangers that Brody's dad and Mick get to morph into at the finale. You have Toto mentioned the Galaxy Warriors idea, the game show thing. That was super cool. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. You even had some really great character focus episodes. I think Calvin gets like some of the best, and in Super Ninja Steel too, Calvin gets some of the best character focus episodes of this era of Power Rangers. And I don't think enough people talk about that. Calvin gets some really good episodes with really realistic fears and motivations for why he's doing these things. So I really like Ninja Steel proper. I really enjoyed that. Especially after Dino Supercharge, where I was getting ready to walk out. I thought, okay, this is actually fine. This is good right here. So I will put Ninja Steel. We'll put it at the top of D. Yeah, we'll put it at the top of D. Top of D. Is Super Samurai better than Ninja Steel? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. So we have Super Ninja Steel now. Now, so remember, I said Ninja Steel was great as a 22 episode season of Power Rangers. I felt like they could have done Ninja Steel for the 22 episodes and been done. Because Super Ninja Steel there's no point to any of it. At this point, executive intervention was like at an all-time high. They were meddling with the show to such a heavy degree that this was I want to say this is the most inconsequential season of Power Rangers ever. Because, the Rangers lose their powers at the end of Ninja Steel, right? Only to get them back immediately in the first episode of Super Ninja Steel. And it's just... They try and have stuff with, like, the Galactic Ninjas and stuff, like, little, like, plot lines. But executive intervention made them do, like, everything resets after each episode. And everything is so inconsequential. The only thing that has any weight in it is Dimensions in Danger. And that is so unfortunate. Because the entire season is only remembered for one 30-minute episode where a bunch of old Rangers came back. That is it. Because hardly anything of importance character-wise happens with these people in Super Ninja Steel. Because they just, like, completely lost focus and just... I don't know what happened here. I don't know what executive got in there and fucked up everything, but man, they did a number on this production. Because this was such an inconsequential season of the show. And that is so unfortunate. Like, I remember watching this season every week as it aired. I cannot tell you a single fucking thing that happens in it. The only reason I remember the Galactic Ninjas thing is because I was going through clips of Ninja Steel a few weeks ago to do that Morph Call compilation I did on Twitter. That is the only reason I remember the Galactic Ninjas, because no one did fuck all in that season. And it's super annoying. So unfortunate. We're going to put Super Ninja Steel is going to go in F tier. I don't dislike it more. It's just forgettable is the thing. Like, I don't hate it as much as Supercharge. So I'm going to put it in between Jungle Fury and Dino Supercharge. That's where Super Ninja Steel is going to go. Okay, so now... Man, we have been at this for almost 2 hours. Holy shit, man. But, let's be real. Were we expecting anything else? No, we aren't. No, we weren't. Wait. How many people are here right now? I'm gonna look at the counter because I need to know how many people are watching the episode. Oh, we got 7 people here. What's up, 7 people? How y'all doing? All right. So Beast Morphers, here we go. Going into Beast Morphers, we're getting yet another transition kind of time. So Beast Morphers season 1. I liked Beast Morphers season 1. Again, it followed the same trend that Dino Charge and Ninja Steel did. They told their story in 22 episodes, and that was kind of it. The plot points were fairly interesting, I think. You know, you had the avatars with Blaze and Roxy. Those were good. You know, a lot of cool stuff happening in there. A lot of sameness because production hadn't totally shifted yet to Hasbro. You know, Saban Brands was still making this, and it shifted to Hasbro production like midway through. So, yeah, cool stuff in here. Characters, I think, were just a lot more charming this time around. So for the first half of Beast Morphers season 1, we will put it in C above. Do I like it more than Dino Charge? Yeah, I probably like it more than Dino Charge. If anything, just because they use the Go Buster suits. That's kind of... I was more excited about that, if I'm honest, that they use the Go Buster suits. Also, I put that picture of Fury Mode in there. Fury Mode was so cool, man. Why the fuck did they only do that for Season 1 and not for Season 2? Someone explain that to me. That was essentially... what the fuck is his name? I know his real name, Rory Travis. What the fuck is his character name? Whatever. What is it? Devin. That's what it is. That was essentially Devin's battleizer, and it just gets totally nuked, and he can't use it after season 1. But then again, that happens with a lot of stuff in this show. Thank you. But yeah, that was really disappointing. That was such a cool power-up mode because I don't think we had really gotten a proper American battleizer in forever. Like a lot of the stuff we were using was stuff Japan had made. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. I'm disappointed it got nixed so early in the show. Now, Beast Morphers Season 2, again, follows the same trend as the previous seasons, where the second half of the show just is not as good. It just is not as good. Toto said, I was confused. Was Beast Morphers part of the main universe or another universe? Beast Morphers was part of the main universe. It was in the central universe with, like, Mighty Morphin and all that stuff. I know some people think Beast Morphers is in its own continuity, but I don't pay them any mind because that doesn't make any fucking sense. If all of these people know about Rita Repulsa and all that stuff, it makes sense for them for everything to take place in the main universe. So season 2 of Beast Morphers continues like I said, continues the trend where the second half of the season just is not as good as the first half. Doing executive intervention again. You know, why did they bother nixing the avatars for Blaze and Roxy to replace them with robots? That's what I didn't get. Because regular Blaze and Roxy, who in the pilot are supposed to be the red and yellow Rangers, don't do anything. Not a single fucking thing of importance in season 2 of Beast Morphers. They don't do anything. Roxy maybe helps evacuate something at the end of the show. That's it. And I don't understand that. That made no fucking sense. I don't get why they did that. They wanted the episodes to be more episodic and one-off and all that stuff. So they introduced the robot clones, I guess. So that was, yeah, disappointing. It started out strong, though, I will say. The was it the second half? It was the second half of the season where I think not Sheriff Skyfire, Joe Chaku, Mr. Joe Chaku, shows up. I did not expect to like all that stuff as much as I did. When I heard that we were going to be adapting Gavin into Beast Morphers, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be rough. But he ended up actually being one of my favorite parts of Beast Morphers. Because his whole little arc that he had right before, leading up to Grid Connection and the Ranger Vault and all that stuff, really great stuff. It did begin to kind of have this kind of discussion that I really didn't like the show was having, where because you're a robot, you can't accept yourself and just be happy being who you are. It was such a contrary message, because like the stuff with like Chaku and with Steel and like being robots who wanted to be human, in Chaku's case wanting to be human again, was so weird. Because like I feel like in other seasons, and even I think Megaforce does this, where like they spend part of their season like trying to show Robo Knight, right, like humanity and what that is and how he can experience that. Even though he's a robot, he can still experience that humanity and understand why humans protect the earth and do all this stuff. So we have like stuff like that happening with Robo Knight, right? But then we have kind of like the opposite thing happening in like Beast Morphers, where it's just like they talk about like humanity and stuff, but they're just like, yeah, humanity is great, but too bad you can't possibly understand it because you're a robot. There's no way you will ever be able to understand this and how complex it is, and love this. So I don't know. It just felt very contrary to like the message Power Rangers typically tries to send, where it's like accepting yourself and just being proud of who you are. It just kind of like felt like it was sending the opposite message, where it was just like, try and fit in with everyone else because you won't know. I don't know. You don't understand what it's like. I don't know. It was really weird. So. And then it has Grid Connection, which is just bad. Grid Connection is the worst thing that has ever happened in the show. It was fucking stupid. It was a waste of time. I don't know why the fuck they did that. Are we going to put it in F tier? Probably. It's probably going to go in F tier, guys. I'm going to be honest. Above, it's still going to go... It's going to go between Super Ninja Steel and above Dino Supercharge. Cool. That's where Season 2 is going. Woo! Okay. Last two. We're at the home stretch. It only took 2 hours, but we're here, guys. We're here. Holy shit. So now we're at Dino Fury Season 1. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't fuck with Dino Fury really at all. But I feel like my life is so freaking contrary to that. I don't know, like, I feel like I've been allowed so many cool opportunities recently because of Dino Fury, and it's so strange because, like, I really don't vibe with the show overall, I would say, but its existence has really, like, allotted a lot of cool opportunities for me recently, and that's, like, I don't know. It's hard, like, separating the two. Yeah, so that's been kind of an interesting experience for me. But I'll tell you guys for sure, because Dino Fury Season 1 was the last season to air on Nick. And I gotta tell you guys, when it was airing live, I was not fucking with this show at all. I was really upset with it. I felt like it was, like, bad. And I think part of it was, because I think this aired only, I think it aired the year after Ryusoulger. And for those unfamiliar, I dropped Ryusoulger after episode 32, after they killed off Geysorg. Yeah, after they killed off him, I got frustrated with the show and dropped it. And I just had a really bad taste in my mouth with that show. And I think some of those negative feelings kind of carried over into Dino Fury. Even though Dino Fury was doing nothing like what Ryusoulger did, I think Dino Fury overall was more interesting than Ryusoulger was. And so I think at that point in my life, I was just like watching the show, and I was just like, I was kind of like hate watching it, if I'm honest. I don't hate it as much in retrospect or in hindsight. And then it also had the benefit of doing what they did with Izzy. And Izzy just means so much to finally have a canonically queer character in the show, you know. So there is a bit of a queer bias in there. So I do appreciate Izzy, because for all the problems I had with Dino Fury as a show, and like for some of the shortcomings that it did have, Izzy is the thing Power Rangers Dino Fury always got right. Izzy as a character is someone they got right every time. And I really appreciate the writers and just everyone behind the scenes and Tessa for just really going all out to do that and get that representation right on the first try. Because they really could have just really phoned it in and just been like, this is a thing we're doing. Isn't it great that we're doing this thing? And there was some of that, obviously, from the community. And that's just because people are excited to see themselves represented. But it was just nice that there was so much care put into Izzy as a character. And that's something about Dino Fury I truly, truly appreciate. And it means the world to me that the first queer character in the show got that kind of treatment. And I hope, future queer characters can get, that same level of care and not, be treated as a token character of diversity, like I feel like is the case for a lot of queer characters in superhero properties. So as far as Dino Fury Season 1... I think we'll put it at the bottom of D tier, because I think I still like Megaforce Samurai and Super Megaforce more, if I'm honest. Because the thing about Dino Fury is I haven't really gone back and rewatched a lot of it, because there's some parts in it that just annoy me. Mostly anything to do with Ollie just kind of bugs the fuck out of me, and I kind of can't get past it. So I think Dino Fury is going to go there, like Season 1 will go right there. And as far as Season 2... Now, as far as Season 2, I think the trend of the second season being worse than the season before kind of ended here. Because I did notice them kind of like change direction a little bit, and there did get to be a little bit more serious moments and stuff, and this was kind of when they started incorporating the Morphin Masters more into the story, and that was stuff I really enjoyed. A lot of the lore stuff in Dino Fury is what I like the most about it, more so than just kind of the show in general. I like the inclusion of the Morphin Masters and all that stuff, and how they created certain Ranger powers and all that stuff, like the Prism and the Energems, the Dino Gems, all that stuff. So I like all the lore stuff they did with the Morphin Masters in these seasons. And then even explaining the Legend War with the Rangers. That was cool too. Just finding out Master Green has been kind of pulling some strings, behind our backs for like 20, 30 years. So, I mean, that's kind of cool. Lord Zed coming back, I was not hot on that. I didn't like it. I still don't like it. It's still gonna be a thing in Cosmic Fury. It's whatever. I kind of made my peace with it at this point. I don't think it was a thing they really needed to do. I feel like it was a thing they felt pressured that they had to do, to kind of have some kind of nostalgia tie-in to MMPR. And I don't know. I feel like they could have told the story they wanted to tell with Zed with another original American villain. So, I don't know. And then also his voice, and great. I know Robert Axelrod died in 2019, but I feel like the performance, like, it wasn't even, like, it just sounded like Evox again. So, from my understanding, the voice actor has changed for Cosmic Fury, so we'll see what that sounds like once that happens. But, yeah. The stuff with him is just kind of random. It just kind of ends in Dino Fury Season 2. And you just kind of find out he escapes at the end. And the conflict resolution at the end of Season 2 of Dino Fury just... I mean, it's whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Void Queen got pretty fucking crazy, and I really felt like she should have gotten a lot more consequences for doing what she did. And her and Tarek, if I'm honest, it made no sense, because Tarek's turn from bad to good was not very good. It was very, like, kind of random. And I remember when it happened, Zato is, like, really angry at Tarek, because he's like, you've been trying to kill us for months, and now all of a sudden you want to be good. And it's like, yes, you are perfectly justified in feeling that way. Meanwhile, the rest of his team is going like, well, Zato, maybe we need to calm down. It's like, no, we don't need to calm down. This guy's been trying to kill you. And, like, especially once he, like, explained that he was trying to energize the Sporix to, like, revive Void Queen. I can't remember her real name. It starts with an S. I couldn't remember what it was. Santora. Yes, Santora. Yeah. That's her name. Okay. To revive her. And, like, he goes to all these lengths, but it's just like, dude, you're being evil while you do it. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Like, the motivations were really weird. And just kind of, like, they wrote them. It's kind of like, the way I kind of see it is they laid out the, stages of the character they wanted the characters to be at, right? At certain points in the show. And regardless of how much they had set up or how much exposition had been had, when that episode happened, that switch was happening with the character. And that was their motivations now. And that's kind of where they were. So the evolution of those characters to those points weren't as smooth as they could have been. So, yeah. It was kind of weird. And also, there was just a couple weird moments, too. Rafcon fucking explodes and is destroyed right in front of Zato and Ion. And they grieve about that for a grand total of, like, 2 minutes before they teleport back to Earth and Ion is cracking jokes in front of Zed. So, there's weird, awkward character moments where, like, it's like inconsistencies in tone, where like they want to do something serious, but they're kind of like counteracting the serious thing that they're doing with comedy, and it kind of like cancels it out, and it kind of like takes you out of it, and instead of being like immersed in like the drama or the seriousness of the situation that they're in, they crack a joke, and so you're just like, for me, it would like take me out of it. I feel like there were a lot of moments like that in Dino Fury season 2. Some in Dino Fury 2, if I'm honest. So as far as placement, and then the ending. They did not know for sure when they filmed that they were getting picked up for Cosmic Fury yet. Simon has confirmed that. They were not sure if they were going to get picked up yet. So that was a really risky fucking move they did, ending Dino Fury Season 2 the way they did. Because if we didn't get Cosmic Fury, that would have been the end of the show, and that would have been fucking whack, dude. But they're lucky. They got lucky. So anyway, Season 2 of Dino Fury, I think I like it less than Dino Fury proper. I think it's going to go in D tier along with Dino Fury Season 1, but it's going to go below Dino Fury. So there it is, you guys. There is the tier list. There we go. Let's run it down for my audio listeners. If you are still listening to this, let's go over it. Let's get into it. So coming in at S tier in first place, we have RPM. Then we have Space, Dino Thunder, Ninja Storm, and SPD. Coming in at A tier, we have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3 and Lost Galaxy. Coming in at B tier, we have Wild Force, Mystic Force, Lightspeed Rescue, and Mighty Morphin Season 1. Coming in at C tier, we have Alien Rangers, Beast Morphers Season 1, Dino Charge, Time Force, Zeo, Super Samurai, and MMPR Season 2. And then in D tier, we have Ninja Steel, Overdrive, Turbo, Megaforce, Samurai, Super Megaforce, Dino Fury Season 1 and 2. And then in F tier, we have Jungle Fury, Super Ninja Steel, Beast Morpher Season 2, and Dino Supercharge all the way at the bottom. So that's it, you guys. That's the whole thing. That's 30 seasons. Again, Alien Rangers just made it 30. But that's 30 seasons of Power Rangers ranked, man. It took a minute, but we got there. And I hope you guys enjoyed the journey. I don't know if you guys have been tagging me on your tier lists at all on Twitter. Let me pull up Twitter in the tab that is not on that screen, so that way we don't accidentally see something on my stream that we're not supposed to see. Oh, shit. Uh-oh. Did it save? It didn't. I had a tweet up and I fucked it up. Okay, so Not Ultra did his homework and turned it in. Let's go over Not Ultras. Just because. We'll just... Can I just... What the fuck? Hello? Where'd you go? Get over here. Get back in there! Okay. So let's see where Not Ultra has everything. He's got RPM in S tier, SPD in S tier. A tier, he has Jungle Fury, Time Force, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, Space, and Dino Charge. B tier, we have Lightspeed, Mystic Force, Season 3 of MMPR, Overdrive. You have Overdrive pretty high. That's surprising. That's nice to see. Wild Force, Samurai. Cool. C tier's got Lost Galaxy, Beast Morpher Season 1, Turbo, Zeo, and Season 2 of MMPR. D tier, he's got Megaforce and Season 1 of MMPR. F tier, he's got Ninja Steel. And a separate tier, will I ever finish? Maybe someday. He's got Dino Fury, so he hasn't watched Dino Fury at all. So that's fair. Cool. Thank you for doing that and following along. If any of you guys were doing that as well, feel free to send those my way. And if I see them after the show, I'll try retweeting some of them, so that way we can just see how that's going. So yeah, man, I think that's all for that. So let's go ahead and switch back to just me. Hi, everyone. Okay, so I mentioned at the top of the show that we're doing a giveaway, yeah? Yeah, we're going to be doing a giveaway. So it's Power Month. You know, we're all celebrating in different ways. I feel like I haven't done nearly as much as I did. I feel like I went really hard on Power Month last year because I did like whole ass threads on season. And I mean, I guess you can't really say that. I just spent 2 hours ranking Power Ranger seasons. So I guess I'm going hard enough for Power Month this year. But yeah, man, we're going to be doing a giveaway for Power Month. So I will post a tweet after the show with all of the rules and all of the things that you guys need to enter this giveaway. I am going to be giving away a Lightning Collection Blue Centurion figure and a Lightning Collection Silver Space Ranger with the Silver Cycle. So the Deluxe Wave 2 or 3, whichever one it is. But yeah, I'm giving away one of those each. We're doing a separate giveaway for each. So the way you guys will enter that is when I tweet out the announcement on Twitter. It's going to have a link to 2 Google Forms. And it's going to have a separate Google form for each figure. So basically, the rules of the contest, it's going to be restricted to the U.S. only. Just because shipping is a bitch right now, you guys. Shipping has not really recovered from the pandemic still. And shipping prices are just egregious. So, unfortunately, I can only do the U.S. And so the rules are basically going to be, you need to be following me on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. Any one of those is fine, at least one. But you will get an extra entry if you follow me on multiple. And if you're already doing that, you just... I'll go over that in a minute. You also need to be subscribed to this YouTube channel. I've looked at the analytics page, and there's surprisingly a lot of you that are not subscribed to the channel still. So if you are catching this, make sure you are subscribed to this YouTube channel, because that will let me make sure that you are entered into the giveaway. And the last step for this, to enter this giveaway, you need to submit a review of the show, the podcast Friday Night Chill with Will, on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of the other podcast hosts that I have available for the show. So I think that means Audible, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. What's the other one? There's a handful. Regardless, it's the pinned tweet on my page. So just go onto the pinned tweet. You can find whatever, podcast host that you want, and just leave a review. I don't care what kind of review you leave, just leave one. And then you're going to take a screenshot of that. Okay? So on the Google form, you're going to submit your usernames, what platforms you follow me on. And then in the second half of the form, you're going to submit a screenshot of your review on either Google Podcasts or any of the other freaking podcast hosts. That was the other one I was thinking of, was Google Podcasts. Whatever you reviewed it on, whatever podcast host you reviewed it on, just submit a screenshot onto the Google form, and then put your usernames in the platform and all that stuff. Hit submit, and then you're entered. I'm going to be picking a winner live on the show on August 25th. So right before Power Ranger Day. I want to get it out to you hopefully the weekend before. I don't know if it will get to you by Power Ranger Day, but I will at least get it out to you before then. So yeah, man, those are going to be the terms for that. Oh, I have the thing open right here. That's what the Google form's gonna look like. I have one of these for each of them. This is the one for Blue Centurion. You'll put your username, the platform, all that stuff. Oh, you're not even looking at that. I had it on this screen in OBS. There we go. See, look, now you can see it. So that's what the Google form looks like. So it has all the rules, all that stuff, all the things to fill out. It's just 2 sections, so really easy. Just do it for whichever figure you want, and we'll pick it out live on August 25th, man. So yeah, that'll be it. Yeah, best of luck to you all. I hope one of you that really wants it gets it. So I think we're going to end the show here, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this. I really appreciate this. This is the longest episode of the show we've ever done. So that's cool. Breaking records for episode 10. So that's fun. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really do truly appreciate it. And I'll see you next week for another Friday Night Chill.